And welcome back. I have an update for you guys regarding the Arizona housing market because there's some fairly big changes occurring there right now, especially regarding a huge increase in the amount of houses for sale in Arizona. So I have a lot to share in today's video. Let's go ahead and dive right in. This is a new report from the Arizona Realtors, and then I'll share some other reports from outpacing as well. And so overall, I'll give you an update regarding inventory numbers, home sales, home prices, and also price reductions as well. Let's first talk about listings, which I'm not too fond of this, but the Arizona Realtors defines a listing as basically an unsold house. In other words, active listings, houses actually for sale, and also pending home sales as well, houses under contract with a home buyer. This report here also covers single family houses, condos, townhomes, and also apartment listings as well. So a wide range of housing types. So what really caught my attention is this right now, which I'll just share right away. So listings, again, active listings plus pending home sales increased by 6.3% year over year, approximately 34,266 listings. At this time last year, we're at 32,243. However, though, when looking at closed home sales, that decreased by 16% on a year-over-year basis. Do you guys get that? We're seeing sales decrease by 16% year over year, but listings increasing by 6.3%. However, when stripping out pending home sales, inventory levels have increased by about 42% year over year. And this is based on my own analysis of outpacing.com's data. For the week ended April 5th, this is in Arizona, 17,548 houses actually for sale, excluding pending home sales. 1 year ago this time, we're at 12,639. So by my dumb math, that's an increase of 42% on a year-over-year basis. But despite this huge increase of inventory levels, sales still tanked by 16%. So on a year-over-year basis, it at least appears that supply is outpacing the demand side because sales are falling by double digits. However, inventory is surging by 42%. In contrast, if home buying demand was absolutely skyrocketing like we had in 2020, 2021, and the first half of 2022, one would imply that if inventory was surging by 42%, we should see a giant increase in home sales as well. In fact, we're seeing just the opposite, supply skyrocketing and sales tanking by 16%. In fact, when looking at the previous 3 years, we're looking at closed home sales. Actually did some digging for you guys looking at previous reports from the Arizona Realtors. So closed home sales, are down by 40% from March of 2021 compared to March of this year. Of course, back in March of 2021, we more or less had 3% average 30-year fixed rate mortgage rates, and now we're around 7%, which is likely impacting closed home sales in Arizona and of course, nationwide as well. On top of that, closed home sales are down by 27% from March of 2019. Back then, average 30-year fixed rates was around 4.5%. So sales down by 16% year over year, but also down by 27% compared to pre-COVID levels as well. All right, let's take a look at inventory levels again up by 40% year over year. What's interesting, what caught my attention this year is the sharp rise of inventory. So for example, in early parts of 2023, inventory levels were still decreasing, coming off the highs we saw back in October 2022, where at that time in Arizona, there was around 21,000 houses for sale. So inventory levels were decreasing through really July last year. Whereas this year, the first week this year, inventory levels have been increasing more or less all year. However, I do not expect, and just being honest with you guys, I do not expect to see inventory skyrocketing like it did in 2022, which of course is one of the main reasons why prices tanked in the last half of 2022 in Arizona. and frankly, across much of the United States. So the reason why sales, or I should say prices, tanked, let me just zoom in here, in 2022 was because of this right here. Inventory levels as of, let's just call it March of 2022, just over 5,000 houses for sale. Look at this though. By the time we hit November 4th, we're at nearly 21,000. So inventory levels quadrupled in that time frame, which of course is the reasons why prices decreased big time as well. Now, of course, the reason why inventory levels surged in 2022 is because rates more than doubled in less than 6 months, which of course shocked the housing market. It caused a lot of people to not list their house for sale, but more so, we saw a huge decrease of home buying demand because rates more than doubled. And of course, a lot of people were priced out, or they're looking at a housing payment that was increasing by more than 100%. And because of that, they decided not to buy a house. And because of that huge decrease in demand, that's why supply side or inventory levels increased so much. So in any case, when looking at inventory levels for the first week of April this year at 17,500, higher compared to last year, much higher compared to 2022, 21, but also a little bit less than the levels we had in 2020, and also much lower than 2019, when at that time we had 29,000 homes for sale compared to 17,548 this April. And again, a friendly reminder that back in 2022, inventory levels did not get close to pre-pandemic levels, but the sharp rise of inventory is one of the reasons, or one of the main reasons, why prices still decrease, even though they did not even get close to pre-COVID levels regarding houses for sale. All right, let's change gears slightly here and talk about the median sold price in Arizona. Again, for single family houses, condos, townhomes, and apartment listings. So for March of 2024, the median sold price just under $349,000. This is slightly higher compared to last year, a gain of only 0.9% year over year. But at $349,000, this is still less than March of 2022. So therefore, not only is the median sold price more or less flat year over year, but it's also about 5% less than March of 2022. However, there's still about $75,000 more compared to March of 2021. And on top of that, $144,000 more compared to March of 2019. So if you guys are a home buyer looking to buy a house, it's good news to see that we have a lot more houses for sale. And on top of that, home prices flat year over year and also down compared to 2 years ago. However, the run up in prices over the past several years is extraordinary. All right, let's change gears again and talk about the month's supply, or the months of inventory. For the state as a whole, this March, we're at 4.28 months. What more or less this means is that at the current sales pace, if no new listings were to hit the market, in other words, new listings basically stop, at the current sales pace, at least for March, all the houses listed for sale will be sold in 4.28 months. Here's something I do not agree with the Realtors Association here, because they say here that a balanced housing market is at a 6-month supply. We're only at 4.28 months. So at 4.28 months, this more or less implies that if a balanced housing market was at 6 months, we would have a seller's market in which sellers have an advantage over home buyers. So again, if a balanced housing market is at 6 months, anything below that means it's a seller's market in which sellers have an advantage over buyers. And anything more than 6 months would imply a buyer's market in which buyers have the advantage. Now, here's my gripe regarding this, because 4 to 6 months, historically speaking, tends to be a more balanced real estate market. However, though, we can't use that same market marker, in order to determine if a housing market is balanced, if it's a seller's market or a buyer's market. In my personal opinion, we should be looking at the rate of changes, the rate of increase or decrease in the month supply in order to gauge, is our housing market balanced or not? So for example, let me give you an example here. Back in March of 2023, 1 year ago, the month supply was only 3.5 months, yet the median sold price in Arizona decreased by 6% year over year. Home prices went down due to a large increase of inventory. So for example, we had a 2-month supply in March of 2022. Then 1 year later, it increased to 3.5 months. So to briefly recap there, what I'm more focused on is the rate of increases because a housing market at 6 months implies we have a balance between buyers and sellers. But clearly, back in March of 2023, the month supply was only at 3.5 months. If we were to assume that a balanced market is at 6 months, anything below that would imply a seller's market. But home prices still decreased by 6% from March 2022 through March of 2023, even when the month supply was only at 3.5 months. And of course, I'd love to hear from you guys. What do you guys think about my take regarding whether or not we have a balanced housing market or not? I'd love to hear from you guys. Something that really caught my attention as well is that the month supply varied quite a bit depending on the price range, which is normal. But what's not normal is this giant increase of houses more than $1 million. So for example, the month supply for houses for sale this March in the range of 1 million to 1.99 million is a 7.1 month supply. For houses priced over $2 million, we're at a 12.4 month housing supply. And again, I did some digging for you guys again. These numbers are very high. So back in March of 2022, that was 2 years ago already, the months of inventory over $2 million houses for sale was only 6 months. Now it's at 12.4 months. On top of that, 1 year ago, the month supply for houses over $2 million was at 10.7 months compared to 12.4 months right now. On top of that, for houses for sale in the range of 1 million to 1.99 million, the month supply was only at 3.4 months in March of 2022. Now it's at 7.1 months, doubling in the past 2 months. Lastly, let's have a look at the share of price reductions in Arizona. This is according to altosresearch.com. I'll provide a link in the video description below for all my sources, like I do for each of my videos. So the share of price reductions in Arizona is nearly at 40% right now. This means that for every 10 houses for sale in Arizona for the week ended April 5th have reduced their asking price. That's a share price drops at around 40%. 1 year ago this time, we were at 43%, but also the peak back in November of 2022, nearly 58% compared to only 40% right now. But at 40%, this is much higher compared to 2022, about double that, and also 21 at only 14%, and 2020 at 29%, as well as mid-April 2019 when the share price drops was at 37%. So more or less, the share price drops is still very much elevated, but not as high compared to last year's levels, and of course, compared to the peak that we saw back in the last half 2022. So I'd love to hear from you guys regarding this housing market update for Arizona. And of course, I want to hear what's your biggest takeaway. My biggest takeaway is the fact that inventory levels have increased by 42% from just 12 months ago, and it's still increasing big time. On top of that, even though inventory levels rose by 42%, sales tanked by double digits. This to me is telling us that the supply side is growing faster than home buying demand. And of course, I'll definitely keep you posted with latest developments because of course a lot could change, but that's just what I'm seeing. What do you guys see in the data I'm sharing in today's video? Hope you guys got a lot of value in today's video, by the way. Thank you so much for joining me in today's video. I appreciate you, and we'll see you on the next video.